What's up, everybody? This is Mind Your Money with MissBeHelpful, the show that highlights people and stories that will inspire you to get your money right. Today, I'm so excited to have a fellow Dominicana up on the show. Shout out to you for joining me today, Sahirenys. How are you?
Hey, thank you so much for having me, Yaneli.
Of course, I had to include you. So, Sarenis is one of the financial influencers, and we met on Instagram. But I also had been messaging her for a while before, and then we met in person at FinCon. And like, forget it, her energy that you see on all of her platforms, social media, on YouTube, on her Instagram, that is exactly how she is in real life. And I was just like, all right, girl, I gotta have you on the show because that Dominicana love, but your energy is just amazing. So I'm so happy to have you.
I'm so excited to be here too, and congratulations
Thank
on your new
you.
podcast as well. Oh, love seeing Dominicanas winning over here.
Yeah, girl, we do. We got to do it. Take advantage of this coronavirus free time I got over here.
Definitely.
Okay, so for those of you out there listening who have not heard of Sahirenys, Sahirenys is a financial blogger. She is also has an Instagram and a YouTube. I mean, I could talk about you, but actually, why don't I let you, Sahirenys? Why don't you tell them about your brands and about what you do?
Yes, so I'm Millennial Latina mom. I have my platform, the Poised Finance and Lifestyle, where I help a lot of millennial women find the balance between their finances and their lifestyle with poise. Trust me, I know how difficult it is. I'm a mom of two living in Southern California. It is very expensive. I have become debt free. I have a background in financial planning. I have a degree in finance. I worked at Merrill Lynch, MetLife, Ameriprise. I know a lot about the financial aspects, but when it comes to millennial moms and millennial women, we have a very difficult time trying
Hmm.
to balance the both with our real life, our goals, the things that we're trying to achieve, and also making sure that we're being financially responsible. I know how difficult that is. That's why I created this brand and this platform to share my tips, my blogs, my videos, whatever knowledge I have to help inspire and motivate a lot of young women out there.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I think it's so perfect because I'm also a millennial woman, but and when I post about money and things like that, it's very much just from my perspective. I have a boyfriend, but I don't have a husband, I don't have kids. And so I think sometimes when people come, they're like, but girl, your videos are great, but like you don't talk about the kids and including everything. Well, I'm bringing Sarenys on the show because she has that perspective. I cannot speak for moms. I can't speak for, wives that are juggling, with their husband, with their kids and everything in the house, but Sarenys can. Okay, she can tell it like it is when it comes to the household. But before we jump into her doing all of her, like talking about why she started Poised Finance and Lifestyle, why she kind of decided to start supporting other women and talking to millennials about money, I have two fun questions I like to start with. And so the first one is, what is a time that you made a purchase, or maybe it was a service that you paid for or an experience that it was so expensive, and to this day, girl, you just regret it. You wish you could take it back.
That's a hard one. That's a really hard one because I've been practicing spending with poise and with purpose, making sure that I'm not buying anything that's not necessary. But when it comes to expensive things, I would say probably the one I had the biggest regret with was my first car.
Mm.
I got it right when my parents hit really hard times financially. We lost our home in 2008, 2009, actually, I believe.
Wow. So the
And
crash, the financial crash of 08, 09.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, at that point, we lost our home. We were staying at our neighbor's house, and I was very depressed, very upset, frustrated at the whole situation. I felt like I was vulnerable. I was leaning on my family for
Mhm.
everything that I needed.
Mhm.
And I decided, you know what? I've been saving, working really hard. I went to community college. I was able to save a lot of money.
Yeah.
That way, I got the Pell Grant. I was working full time.
Yes.
So, not full time, part time. So, I was able to save a lot of my coins
Yeah.
and I was ready to buy a car. And I went to the dealership with my parents and I was like, I want to buy a certified car, something that's safe, reliable, that I can rely on when I go to college and when I move to LA.
Yeah.
I needed something, secure, something not like sketchy, like a
Right.
lemon or anything
Right.
like that, just in case I needed to drive back home or anything.
Mhm.
But the problem was that they would only accept me if even though I had the cash, they would only accept my purchase if it was financed. And since I was so young, they said I didn't have any credit. I would have to have my parents to co-sign with me.
Uh,
And my dad just told me, open and honest,
no.
I can't help you. I don't have any I don't have credit right now.
Yeah.
I can't help you. So I was really devastated. I had the money. I was like, I have the money. Here's the cash. Please
I
take
don't
it. I
understand
want a
why
good
I
car.
don't understand why they didn't let you pay cash if you had the cash. That's ridiculous.
No, they told me that it had to be fully financed, and if I had the cash, I can just pay it up front to the lender eventually.
Yeah,
And I was a little skeptical with going to those off-brand dealerships
yeah,
or getting going on Craigslist. I looked at Craigslist and I was a little concerned because a lot of
yeah,
those cars are like refurbished or something like that. You don't know the real story behind them.
exactly. Yeah.
And I was really in a tough situation. My neighbor, luckily, he had his attorney that was selling his car. He was getting position ready to buy a new car. And I trusted my neighbor. He told me that the car was a really good car. It was a Mercedes,
Ooh,
trusted brand.
okay.
And I was like, you know what? This is a good brand. I trust you. It's coming from an attorney. He's probably taking care of his car. It's not like some lemon out there or anything crazy like that. So I paid for it upfront in cash.
Yeah.
And it was a good investment at that point because I didn't go into debt over it. I still had my
Right.
job. I was
Right.
still going to school. My parents were still helping me with everything that I needed. But it wasn't until I went to college in LA and I was doing all that back and forth driving that I realized I couldn't afford the maintenance. It was the hidden costs that were really killing me.
Mm,
My car actually broke down. The catalytic converter messed up, which is an
wow.
expensive piece for any car. But when it comes to luxurious cars, it's like ridiculously expensive.
Girl, I don't even know what
So
that is. What piece of the car broke? I don't even know what
it's the part that it's the bottom part that pretty much exhausts all the smoke
uh,
in the bottom of the car. So it's doing like a little like racketing sound.
that's how you
Like it
knew.
was
That's how you knew that it wasn't right. Something was
it
wrong.
wasn't good, no. And
Okay.
I had to go to a place that fixed only luxurious cars in LA. Luckily, I was
Uh,
in LA, and
yeah.
a lot of people have cars like that. So it was just too expensive. I had to go
Yeah.
pooling my emergency fund, which was pretty much my student loans
Ay,
to
ay,
help pay for
ay.
that car.
Yeah.
And then the second time it broke down, it was in San Diego, and my boyfriend had to do the upfront cost. I was pretty much homeless, living at my friend's
Ay,
couch. I
ay,
had no money. I was struggling. I was very stressed out if I had to use more money from my student loans to just make ends meet. And again, this is California, LA. You need a car.
yeah.
It's just not
It's
the
not
same
New York
situation
City.
as New
Of
York or
course,
anything
of
like that. You
course.
need a good car.
Yeah.
And if I need to go to San Diego, it becomes very, very difficult.
Oof.
So, it was really stressful because I'm just like, gosh, I paid the car up front in cash. It's not like I got into debt again,
You did the
but
right
it's just the
thing.
hidden cost.
Right.
Yeah, I can afford the gas, I can afford the maintenance of all the stuff. But it's when the car actually started breaking down that I was like, oh,
I
I
didn't
can't
think
afford
about
this.
that.
This is
Yeah.
new.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, that's why I did this infographic that I posted on Instagram, which I do a lot of little infographics here that kind of like shoot people down a little bit. But it was like, can you afford the hidden cost, not just the item? Same thing with houses. A lot of
Yes.
people say that, oh, I can afford the mortgage, but
Yes.
can you afford fixing the bathrooms, the maintenance, the HOAs, the Melon Rouge, the taxes, everything involved? There's a lot more to
Then the price
just the
tag that
mortgage.
you see. Yep. That's right.
And it's the same thing with the car. There's a lot more to a car than just the price on the ticket. It's a
Yeah.
lot of hidden costs. So that's probably the
Yeah.
biggest regret that I have just because it was such a large expense. If it wasn't such a
Yeah.
large expense, I probably wouldn't be regretting it. But because it was
Yeah.
such an upfront expense and it was eating into my emergency fund, that was pretty much my student loans, that's where the regret kind of comes in. You're
Yeah.
just like,
Yeah.
that one killed me a little bit.
Yeah, te duele, it hurts. It hurts even to today a little bit, like, ouch, that car. Well, okay, let's think about a time on the opposite side to cheer you up a little bit. A time that you spend a lot of money, yes, and maybe somebody else would think that it was too much. But for you, that expensive purchase, it was actually worth it. And you are glad that you spent all that money.
So after that car situation happened and
Yeah,
finally it died down, I was actually I was in a position to actually afford a new car, which was
yeah,
an expensive car still because cars are expensive regardless. And
yeah,
it was something that I could afford. And that was the difference. I could afford the hidden costs. I can afford the price tag, the monthly expenses. One thing that I did with my new car was that it wasn't a new car, it was a certified car that was leased out for like 1 year. So I got a completely amazing deal. And one way that I was able to reduce the interest on that car was that I actually prepaid all
oh,
of the
wow.
maintenance. So that wouldn't be an issue. So that actually I did that.
I didn't even know that you could do that. So do they like fix the cost and then you just like multiply it by the number of months you're gonna have it? Or what if your maintenance ends up costing more than you prepaid? Like how does that work?
They pretty much give you a deep discount for having, um, the maintenance all up front for the next 5 years,
Mhm.
and they pretty much divided it throughout the whole loan, but it was such a deep discount that it ended up lowering the actual, interest on the actual car
Yeah,
because they know that you're actually protecting the investment.
yeah,
So it worked out very beautifully. It wasn't very expensive. It was like I can't even remember anymore, to be honest, how much more it was, but it was definitely a good investment because they did everything. All I had to do was bring the car and that's it. I didn't have to worry about a bill or anything
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
And it's funny because my husband and I, we try to be rebels at times and be like, we're gonna get something that, whatever, let's just do it. And God's like, no, no, it's not happening.
Uh,
What ended up happening was a lot of people don't realize is that we actually paid off all of our student loans before we made this purchase. We cash flowed our wedding
wow.
and we were now joining our finances together as a team and we had an emergency fund. So a lot of people don't see that this was
Yeah,
not a crazy expense. This was a very planned expense.
right.
And what happened was I
That's
actually
right.
got pregnant about a month after I bought the car. So it was actually the smartest investment we did because now I had a safe and reliable car that had maintenance didn't have to worry about or stress out about. It became something that we're like, wow, looking back, we're like, wow, that was actually worth it. It was a good investment to make. And it wasn't something that was stressing us out because we were actually in a position to do it. We
Yeah,
were both
yeah,
working, making good income, and we reduced our debt.
yeah.
So that's when it starts to make
And that's smart.
sense.
I think you learn from the mistakes that you make because at the first car, obviously you were dealing with the maintenance costs like crazy. So getting the second car, you're thinking like, all right, how can I not make that same mistake again? This car is certified pre-owned. I don't know the real story. Like, let's see if I can get myself to do something smarter about the hidden cost this time. And prepaying the maintenance was that for you. So it does, you don't even the regrets sometimes they come back and they help you a little bit, right? Like
Exactly. So I learned a little bit. I learned a big lesson from the first regret. So I wouldn't have the same regret in the next
that's
car.
smart out there, people listening, watching this. Like when you do make a mistake with money, it's not to beat yourself up about it, but take note, okay, and don't do that same mistake again and again and again because then you're not really going to see any results for the better. I love those stories. I think a lot of people when they have to talk about expensive purchases or regrets with money, it oftentimes does have something to do with a car. I've been doing a lot of interviews for the show with a lot of different women so far, but eventually I'll open it up to other people too. But I think what I've noticed is the trend is a lot of times the stories at the beginning are connected to a car. So it's funny.
Yeah, we're at that age range because what else are we really paying for that's super
That's right.
expensive? It's cars and
That's
education. Other than that, most people are now getting to the situation where they might be buying a home or like a condo or
yeah.
something like that. And those are the biggest expenses. They're not cheap things. Even if you buy a used car, it's very expensive.
Absolutely. And people, underestimate how much it's going to be. They're like, oh, it's just $200 a month, or it's just this much or that. The total cost at the end of the day for everything that has to do with that car is not $200 a month. It's a lot. That's very true. So you mentioned already a little bit about this, but I want to talk more about it. You and your husband are now debt free. Congratulations, because that is
Thank
a huge
you.
milestone. And for those of you who are not already following Sahirenys on her Instagram at Poised Finance Lifestyle, you have to go check her out because she has the most Dominican ass video when she got that free. Her kids were playing the guira and the drums like we that free, hey, with plátanos in the frame. I was dying.
Everyone was like, "Is your husband Dominican?" I was like, "No, but
Oh, I was
he's learning. He's
cracking up
learning."
when I saw that video, literally laughing out loud, cackling when I saw plátanos come out and the flag. I was like, I'm done with Sirenes right now. She's so Dominican right now. But anyway,
Can't help
exactly.
it.
Está en la sangre. It's in your blood, girl. But that is such an important moment for you guys. I love that you made it fun, for you involved your kids and everything, and to make it something that you will never forget. You put the video online, but obviously before that video and before that moment, it was not always so exciting and so cheerful. There was some sacrifices and there was a lot of stuff that you guys had to put in place, systems and stuff to be able to actually pay off the debt. So can you tell us about what it was like to get out of debt, and also together with someone else? Because I got out of $20,000 of debt by myself, but you paid off so so much more than that, and you did it combined with your husband. So what was that like?
To be honest, it was very difficult in the beginning because we were just dating and I had to bring up the conversation about debt
Yeah,
because I was in the financial service industry. I was working at Ameriprise and
yeah,
they're very upfront with you when you're working in the financial service industry. They tell you
yeah.
if you want to help people with their finances, you can't file bankruptcy. It
Mhm.
doesn't make sense. If you can't handle your finances, how are you going to help other people with
That's
their
right. That's
finances?
right. It's hypocritical.
And it is. So I had to tell my fiance before we even became fiancés. We were just dating and
Yeah,
talking about becoming more serious and getting
yeah,
engaged. I had to
yeah,
tell him like, "Hey, I graduated with my finance degree. I want to be in this career. I truly do want to help people. We cannot file bankruptcy. So we need to start talking about our debt." And I know it's a really hard conversation to have, but he was pretty open about it. He
yeah.
started doing research about Dave Ramsey, and he started realizing, okay, I can pay off my debt. I can get a side hustle and start paying off
Mhm.
this debt. So what he did is he worked for he does UX UI at that time, and
Okay.
he got a
Yep.
school where he could do part-time work and that allowed him
Oh,
to push all of that income towards his student loans. That's what he had. I had student
right.
loans as well. I didn't have the new car
Nice.
at that point, and he had a car that was not that expensive. So
Yeah.
we started working on actually crushing our debt before we even got married. So one thing a lot of people don't know is by the time we cash flowed our wedding, and we actually had our wedding. We were debt free. We paid for the wedding in cash, and we
Wow.
went to the Dominican Republic to go
Yeah.
celebrate our honeymoon. And people didn't even realize why we were so happy. We're like, "Yo, we
Something
just accomplished
huge.
like
Yes.
a lot because a lot of people go into
Wow.
debt for their wedding, and to be able to pay off your debt and pay off your wedding, that was a big accomplishment for us. We
Yeah.
were super excited. And I know that it's hard because some people are like, well, how'd you do it? Like, there's little micro tweaks that we were doing along the way because especially when you're saving for something expensive like a wedding or you're paying off debt, there has to be micro changes in your whole life, in your
Yes.
lifestyle. We had to learn how to start managing our finances together. That was one thing that we wanted to do. If we're going to be married, we need to know how to manage our money together because my debt is your debt's my debt. What we do does affect
Yeah.
one another. So that's when we started implementing the high five banking method, which is having a separate account for the purpose. And one of the first accounts that we did is we opened up a joint
Mhm.
checking account to pay all of
Okay.
our bills. And then we had an account specifically for our joint emergency fund, which really helped us to feel comfortable while paying
Yeah.
off our debt. And we also made our short-term goal to be saving for our wedding because again, it's nice to be budgeting together, but I need to see what's really going on,
Yes.
in the accounts.
Uh-huh.
I don't want just to be talking about finances. I want to see the
Action, not just
finances
words.
and
Mhm.
seeing the money exactly. I don't want to be just walking the walk. I want to be talking the
Yes.
talk
That's
and
right.
walking the walk both at the same
That's right.
time. So that was one way for us to be very clear and open with each other
Right.
about the financial situation that was going on. I could clearly see that he's contributing towards the bills,
Yeah.
towards the emergency fund, towards saving for the wedding. And it was the same way for me. And then we both had our own lifestyle account at that time because we still wanted to have a little bit of
Yeah, you
fun.
gotta do
You
you. You
know,
gotta do your thing too. Separate from the
we had
marriage, you still are Sahirenys. You still have things that
yes.
you like that, and he has things that he likes. Yeah,
Exactly. We needed to do a few happy hours to reduce the stress, a few date nights here and there. Not like we used to do because we at that point before you're not looking into your debt,
yeah,
you probably go on more date nights than you usually would have
yeah,
been allowed to do.
yeah.
But then when you get on a budget and you're very strict with your finances, you're like, okay, I could still go on a date night, just not as many as I used to go on.
Exactly, exactly.
And that's when we started seeing, okay, we're starting to get a gist of how to actually manage our finances and create a lifestyle around this. And then when we started having our kids and quit working and he wanted to start his own business, we started realizing we need to bump up our emergency fund. Just because
Mhm.
one financial expert says to only have $1,000 or 1 month doesn't mean that we need to stop there. We need to continue building this. So we paused
Yes,
paying off any more debt. We had the cars at that point and we decided let's build our 3 month
yeah,
emergency fund. Let's get more secure because again, if you want to become a business owner, you never
yeah,
know where your
yeah.
income's going to come. Things
That's right,
change.
and you gotta have
And one
backup
thing that
money. You need that backup money for emergency.
exactly.
Yeah,
And the craziest thing is that once we paid off our student loans and my husband's car, we only had my car left over. We started the business, and what we realized was, we have to pay healthcare now. And healthcare
Oh,
actually ended up being the same amount of money that we owed towards debt. And we
wow.
were just like, "Wait, what? Are
Ah,
you serious?" And I was like, "We would have never been able to actually afford
yep.
to start a business
Pe- People don't
responsibly,
think about that stuff.
correctly."
Those are, and that's, it's funny that connects back to the car. It's the hidden costs that you didn't necessarily like foresee. You didn't really think about, oh, we're gonna have to pay this health insurance. We're gonna have to pay for these things. You don't really think about it until the moment comes. You're like, oh crap, we need to pay for health insurance. How much is that? And you don't even know.
Yes.
Mm,
Yes. So we started seeing the cause and effects. We're like, wow, there was a big deal that we actually paid off, prioritized paying off our debt. This allowed us to start our businesses and have healthcare because that's a really big expense when you're a business owner. And then eventually, go back to paying off the rest of the debt. And
yes.
that was one of the biggest things that we started learning, that there's a lot of hidden costs, like you said, and a lot
Mhm.
of lessons that we still don't see until they present themselves.
That's right.
And that's a big thing for us. And that was some of the biggest challenges that we had while paying off debt,
Yeah.
on top of dealing with family emergencies. A lot of people create a plan to pay off debt and they think it's going to come off smoothly. I'll pay off debt
Mhm.
and be done, save my emergency fund and be done. They don't realize that life can also get in
Yes.
the way.
Yes.
My son he was diagnosed with a heart defect.
Oh,
So
pobrecito.
when I was pregnant,
Mhm.
I found out that he was gonna need a open heart surgery
Oh,
either right after
oh
birth
my goodness.
or 6 to 12 months later. So
Oh,
it was a super stressful time because, we're thinking that we're being ambitious and we're working
yeah,
hard. We started
yeah,
our businesses, we're paying off debt. We're in such, you know,
yes.
a fast motion. And God's like, life's gonna come hit you. You better be
Never predict,
prepared,
you never want to, you never like anticipate or predict
Even think about
that that's going to
yeah.
happen to you, that something's going to go wrong with your pregnancy, or that your child's going to need something surgical or something like that. Like, you just don't think about like that coming. And that's why that emergency fund is so important, because if something you never
Yes.
anticipated is going to happen, at least you have the cushion there for something like that that you could never have imagined. Ay,
Yes.
pobrecito. I hope everything is okay with your son now.
Oh, yes, he had an amazing surgery. It went perfect and more better than perfect. It was amazing. But the thing
Good.
that, we didn't realize was that when we first found out he was diagnosed with tetralogy of Fallot. That's what the heart condition's called. We were like, wow, we need to save for this, because we know it's coming
Yes.
up. This is going to be very expensive. These are situations that are coming up. And what we did was we saved for it in our short-term goals account. You have to think about this is hotel, um, food. We went to
Yes.
Children's Hospital in LA, so we weren't going to be there. The
Wow.
hospital, actually ask you for your money up front. They're just like, okay, we
Wow.
need to pay for the surgery for at least the first
Oh
day. I
my
was like,
goodness. There's no
wait,
payment
what?
plan. Oh my
So they're
goodness.
they ask upfront for at least the first
Wow.
day. So it's like very, emotional. These are things that you go through while you're on your debt-free journey and in journey in life in general. And one things that we hit were a few extra roadblocks along that same time frame. When the surgery did come, my father-in-law passed away a week
Ay,
before
ay.
my son's surgery. And that entire month was a wash. My husband is an entrepreneur, so he wasn't able to work that entire month. So that was no income for an
Oh
entire
my
month. That's like what
goodness.
we're going through now for like a lot of people.
Yes, for
So it's a
working.
lot of stuff going on in a very short amount of time,
Wow.
and us really pausing our debt freedom to save and make sure that we're being
Yes.
realistic with what life's throwing at us was a big lesson that is not really discussed in the debt-free journey, community, or a lot of people when they're talking about finances, they avoid talking about, the emergencies or the hiccups that can arise during your financial journey. And that was
Right.
something that we learned. We have to be flexible, we have to be realistic. Things do have to modify and be changed sometimes, and you just have to be open-minded to it. Just take it in and be like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm in this situation now. How do I approach it? And just keep pushing forward. And the crazy part is, we lived, we survived. My son's good. We had the money for it. We didn't have to go into debt. We had our emergency fund. We had our short term goals account to pay for all of the surgery and everything like that. And once things started calming down, we get our first tax refund, which we've never gotten tax refunds ever in
Yeah.
life. We always owed money, but this is the
Yeah.
first time we got a tax refund. We were just like, mira esa cosa, the same amount that I owed on my car.
No. The exact same dollar amount that you had to pay for the car was given to you in your taxes?
Yes, that was remaining. I was
Oh
just like,
my
"This is ridiculous.
goodness.
It's out of control." So I was like, "Okay," God understood that we had a roadblock, and because we were so persistent on listening to him and following our
Yes,
gut, he still congratulated us with becoming
wow,
debt free. So it's like, the lessons that you learn, you're just like, you have to go with the flow. You cannot be so aggressive and be like, I need to do this no matter what. You don't know what life is trying to teach you,
that's right.
and it will still come back to you. The goals that you're trying to achieve, they will be achieved in the right
It's
timing.
just a matter of time. You said you wanna do it in 3 years, maybe you was gonna do it in 5 years, but it's still going to get done, like, yeah,
Exactly. And that's the thing too. Even if it takes someone else 3 years, don't worry about that.
that's right.
Doesn't matter if it took you 3 or 5 years or even 10 years. You're doing it on your
Yeah,
time,
focus on
and
you.
your lessons will be learned, and you will focus on what you need to
I
do.
love
So
that.
those are the biggest things I learned, and I hope a lot of people listen to it because
Yeah,
it's true. It's real. These things happen.
yeah.
So we have to be flexible with our
That is a
goals.
great point. I mean, especially right now, like as we see this coronavirus changing the economy, I am the type of person that I learned the hard way because I never had money saved up. I was paycheck to paycheck. Then I had $20,000 of credit card debt because of my reckless spending in college and because I didn't know how to use the credit cards. I was just making minimum payments, thinking everything was going to be okay. And then I finally like got my stuff together, fixed my money situation. And once I learned how to do money right, I was like, I'm not gonna go back to that place where I was stressed out all the time, where I had no idea. If somebody asked me, Janelli, how much money did you spend on shopping this month? I would be like, I don't know. Or how much money did you spend on your groceries and food this month? I don't know. I want to be able to say I know exactly how much I spent. I could tell you right now. If I don't know off the top of my head, I could find it on my budget. I can tell you. I wanted to know. I wanted to be in control and be in the know. And now I'm the crazy person that has like 8 months of rent and expenses and groceries and bills in my savings account because I don't want to ever find myself in a position where, God forbid, I lose my job or something terrible happens and there's a medical emergency and I can't work and I have to go to the hospital or whatever. I am not going to be freaking out and going back to that place because of not saving. So I stack up that emergency fund more than most people because I'm crazy like that. But it just goes to show when life throws you crazy things left and right. It depends right, how you are able to handle it. So I thank goodness, knock on wood, I haven't lost my main source of income during coronavirus. But even though if I did, I would be okay because I prepared for the worst by stacking up all the money that I could have spent shopping. I could have spent it on going out. I could have went to visit you guys in San Diego. I could have done a lot of things with my money, and instead, I
No, trust me, I hear you.
yeah,
Because I think my grandma was like, "When you coming Santo Domingo?" I was like, "Grandma, I can't right
you gotta
now."
put that on hold.
And you gotta
Hmm.
you gotta be honest. Hey, I can't right now. It's not the right timing. I have a family of four. Things change. It's not like it used to be where it was just me. I could just hop on a plane, or my parents were paying for the flights.
Yeah,
Now it's like I have more
that's
responsibilities.
right.
And I think when you're honest and open with people, especially your family, they respect
That's
it.
right.
Like, you know what? I know what that's like. I've been in that
That's
situation,
right.
especially when you're a young parent. Grandparents are like, "Oh, mija, you don't know nothing yet."
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
I understand completely. I know how money gets. I understand. So that's one thing that, I tell people, don't feel ashamed to even tell people, "You know what? It's not my
Yes,
budget." It's not That's not a negative thing. If people think that's negative,
that's a
that's
smart
their
thing.
mindset
That's
that
a
needs to be
smart
switched
thing to say
around.
rather than trying to pretend you can handle it and then put yourself in more financially bad situation because you're trying to pretend that you can do things that financially you're not really ready to handle them right now. So you got to be real. You got to be honest with yourself
Exactly.
and with other people. I love that. And for you guys, for context, Sahirenys and her husband paid off over $99,000 of debt together, which I mean, and again, I think a lot of people when they hear big numbers, like they get like all crazy, but it's a lot easier the more money that's coming in too. Like Sirenis already said, her husband is in UX UI. When you do things like tech work or engineering or doctor or lawyer, I had Cindy on the show before from Zero Based Budget, and when you have a high income, Cindy was able to pay off 200,000, right? Sarenisa and her husband were able to pay off 99,000. Right? So if you also think about cutting expenses, being realistic with yourself, saving up money, but then also you got to get creative about how you can increase your income at the same time. Like Sarenisa and her husband started side hustles, they have their businesses. Like you sometimes, you go to work, you come back and you're tired, but those are the moments where you have to push yourself and say, I know I'm tired, but I'm gonna get up, I'm gonna do like 100 jumping jacks just to wake myself up, and I'm gonna go online and I'm gonna do my thing, because that is eventually what's gonna help you to really break the cycle and to get into a place where you are financially stable.
Exactly, exactly. And that's what we had to do. Nothing new. Just
That's right.
actually had to do the work, and it's not fun. Again, it's not fun. It's hard when you're seeing everyone that you love and care about on social media going on
Oh,
vacations, buying new cars, buying houses, having kids, and just, living their best life that they always wanted to live. But then you're just like, I'm not there yet.
right,
And that's okay.
exactly.
But then when I do start living my best life, I know that I'm not faking it till I make it. I
Yes,
actually am being realistic with myself. I'm being my true self. And you're going to feel much better knowing that you can afford to do what you're
that's
doing.
right.
You're not going to be like stressed out after you went on vacation.
That's
That's
right.
happened to a lot of people. They go on vacation, they come back stressed
I
out. Their
know.
car breaks down right after they come from vacation. They go to the mall. Now they have a bill that they have to pay. You're like, oh, I'm stressed out. It's because you have to
Right.
prioritize, the most important things, which is your bills, your emergency fund, and making sure you're protecting yourself in the future.
100%.
And then start, planning out your goals, your long-term, short-term goals, everything else, because those things are luxuries,
Right.
realistically. Take care of the mandatory things.
Yeah, and I love how you said that you're not faking it until you make it, because I noticed that even with my friends and stuff, that when I was younger, I would see on Instagram taking trips to Cuba, taking trips to here and there. Like when the travel to Cuba opened up, everybody that I know was going to Cuba, like everybody, and posting pictures
Mhm.
about it on Instagram. And I was like, yes, I have the money for that, but I had these very specific goals about investing and maxing out my Roth IRA, and just saving more, because I wanted to hit 8 months of saving, of 8 months of monthly expenses before I started to spend any money on fun things like that. And so everybody was like, but Janelle, you have a Miss Be Helpful. You talking to people about money and you can't afford to go to Cuba. Just because you can afford it, it doesn't mean it's a priority. And
That's very true.
that's why I like what you said, because it's about those things that you slowly change. I think the term that you used that I like was micro tweaks, micro changes, because just that
Mhm.
small little change in my mindset was like, yes, I could pay for this trip, but I'm prioritizing something else over that. So that little tweak in my mind allowed me to just keep on going with my goals, instead of going, to a Beyonce concert, going to Cuba, going to all the things that I wanted to do, and I didn't do them because I prioritized something else. Yeah.
Adulting.
I know, right? Hashtag
But
adulting
it's
emergency.
But at the same time, look who is coming. We're the people that people are realizing that we made the sacrifices and we're better positioned because of the sacrifices we made.
That's right.
Especially during times like this, or even any difficult time someone's going through, we're able to maneuver and handle these situations with poise in a more gracious way than stressing out, being anxiety, fighting old people at the grocery store, because,
Oh, yeah,
you
yeah.
know, we've been seasoned. We've been preparing for this slowly but surely.
Yes, I love that. I love that so much. And as you guys can tell, just in how seamlessly and like just naturally Sirenes mentions the word poise over and over again, because that is what her brand is all about. It really is about doing it in a certain way without stressing yourself out, without panicking. And that is, I definitely get that vibe from your whole platform, which is definitely something that I love about it and love about you. As much as you do have that energetic personality, you're also still very calm when it comes to explaining things and talk about things in a way that you don't have to get panicked and crazy about it. So to wrap up, for my last question, before we do, I want to let Saireni share where everybody can find you. I know that you also, on top of the Instagram, have YouTube and have a blog and have all these amazing things. So where can people find you if they wanted to tell you that today watching you or listening to you inspired them?
Definitely find me on Instagram, Poised Finance Lifestyle. You can also find me on my blog, thepoisedlifestyle.com, and also on YouTube, The Poised Lifestyle.
Awesome. The poised lifestyle. You guys heard it from Sahirenys herself. Okay, so Sahirenys, here is my last question. If I'm gonna go on Photoshop and I'm gonna take away George Washington's face and I'm gonna put your beautiful face on the dollar bill, and then on top of your face is gonna be your money message or your money mantra. Like every time somebody touches the dollar or every time somebody has money circulating or transacting, you want them to see this message on the dollar. So, what is your money message gonna be?
It would be to spend with purpose.
Spend with purpose. I love that. All right, I'm gonna put that on your dollar bill, and I'm gonna tag you, and I'm gonna share it. And everybody, take that with you from this episode: is spend with purpose. Right? Every time that you're putting money towards something, really ask yourself: is that what you want to be doing with your money? Where you want to be going? Is that aligning with your? Is that aligning with your goals? And is that gonna help you get where you want to go? And maybe it's a no or maybe it's a yes, but really asking yourself is how you're going to become more mindful about your spending. I love that.
Exactly.
Love
That
it.
was a good question.
Yeah, that's gonna be that's how I'm gonna end them all, and then I'm gonna have a collection of all the dollars with all these amazing
Ooh.
messages on them. I can't wait for that. Um, all right, thank you so much, Saireni. This was so fun. I love this. I love your energy. I love what you're doing. You're just like such a fabulous mom. Every time I look at you on Instagram, your kids are juicing, making carrot juice with you. I'm like, oh my god, they're so cute. I love it.
Thank you so much.
So just keep doing your thing and have an amazing rest of your weekend, love.
You too. Bye.
If you like this video, which I'm sure you did because the video was the bomb, then you're gonna wanna watch all the other episodes of the Mind Your Money with Miss Be Helpful podcast. And they're all right here in this playlist. So click the playlist to watch those episodes. And if you haven't subscribed to this YouTube channel yet, I don't know what you're waiting for. Click the subscribe button right now so you can get videos every single week and to join Team Be Helpful right here. That's all I have for you guys. Till next time, peace.